Great being here. Jad, thank you for doing this with me. A little bit of intro for myself and then for Jad. So I'm George. I'm a co-founder of Venture Friends. We're a seed stage fund with presence coming from Greece, with presence in London, Barcelona, and Warsaw. We are investing at seed stage, and we are focusing on PropTech, FinTech, B2C, B2B marketplaces, SaaS companies, which is all for, it's like sectors that Haspi has been involved. And here we have Jad from Haspi, if you want to give a quick intro.
Yeah, cool. Thanks, guys, for being here. My name is Jad. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Haspi. So Haspi is a super app for the real estate market, focusing on Europe and the Middle East. So we started out of Dubai. Now we have presence in Spain, which is the entry market for us in Europe. We're 2.5 years old, so a bit less than 3 years. And we raised around $75 million in capital from top funds, including Sequoia, Founders Fund, Fifth Wall, Briar, and Venture Friends was the first check in Haspi.
Okay, awesome. So first of all, congrats. I mean, what a fantastic journey so far. Can you walk us through how was the whole experience of growing from a 3-4 team company to a 300 strong company right now?
Yeah, so just to tell you a bit how Haspi is set up, so we're roughly around 300 people now. We have around 120 people in technology. So for us, tech means engineering, product management, product design, and data. So we're very heavy on software. And we have 2 local operations team, one that is in Dubai and one that's in Spain. Spain is 50, 60 people in total. So yeah, as George was describing, so we're 3-4 people. It took us 4 or 5 months to find product market fit, which in my opinion is the hardest thing to find in companies, and then things absolutely blew up. We couldn't keep up with the demand, so hiring literally, cold calling people, anyone that you know, refer people, etc., people sitting on the ground, and etc. But then after a point in time when we had capital and coming in and so forth, then we sat down and put a strategy on fundraising, on recruiting. And for us, strategy is we decentralize what we call offense. So for us, in every market that we feel that there's a hub of talent and we have a value proposition that we can recruit from. So for example, Latin America with Brazil. Brazil has a lot of unicorns coming out of there, so 30, 40 unicorns. People have seen growth before. Geopolitically, the country is not very stable, so the real is not doing well, and etc. So we felt that this is a hub of talent that we can recruit for. So we hire people focusing on these markets locally. Colombia is another hub for us, since Spain now is a very important market for us. And then we centralized what we call defense. Defense for us meaning the interview process, either starting from technical and etc., but also culture, which is a huge thing.
We're going to talk about the culture, because culture is one of the strong points of Haspi.
Sure.
Before we go there, though, growing the company at such a rate, 30x over 3 years, growing the team also that fast, did you have to make any compromises? And what were these compromises?
Yeah, so first of all, when you find product market fit super early stage, and in my opinion, regardless of what any company tells you, it's you don't have a perfect product. So your product caters for a good part of the solution, but then there's another part that's been done offline. So for the first 1.5 years in Haspi, we're very operationally heavy, which is something we went to as a trade-off. At some point in time, we're like growing 60-70% month on month, so it was just impossible to slow down the demand to actually build product and so forth. So we made the trade-off that, hey, it's okay for us to hire a lot of operation people and so forth while we build product, because the last thing that we want to do is to slow down growth, which for us is culture. In Haspi, we're a very growth-driven company in general. So this is one thing. 2, we opened up hiring in a lot of markets. We ended up with like 40 nationalities, give or take. And I always say that diversity is a beautiful thing if you can make it work, but it's also could backfire on you, because the way People work is very different. So I'll give you an example. There's some countries by nature they're high context culturally. So let's say, for example, you have to go and explain to an engineer why you're building this feature and what the impact that has on the business and all of that, which is great because they become much more well-rounded. The trade-off is that you need to explain it for 2-3 days. There's other markets where, for example, it's much more task-driven, so it's low context, go start coding fast and so forth. So if you put two people working together and they have different styles, they can clash very easily. So these are some of the trade-offs that we had to manage. So we saw this on the ground, then we put an onboarding process, we cleaned it, and then...
Makes sense. No. I mean, this is what happens to companies that grow fast. So you mentioned before culture. Haspi has a fantastic culture. So I was lucky enough to be attending a couple of town hall of Haspi, and it resembled almost like a rock concert. So Jad was on the stage, people were going crazy, shouting, etc. So let's talk about culture. How have you managed to have such a fantastic culture in the company, and how this plays during the recruiting process?
Yeah. So Joy, this changed so much during the course of Haspi. So initially, when we were like a team of up to 50 people, I would say culture, communication, and so forth don't have as much of an importance as when you're a large team, because you're just too close as a team. Like, you're all sitting in the same room, you know everyone by name. If you want someone, you just go and ping them, etc. And even though that you might not have a strong culture, quote unquote, you have a strong bond as a team, so you love each other, everyone's very friendly, and so forth. At some point in time, when you become a much bigger team, having a culture that's centralized becomes much more important. Communication issues start coming up. Sending the right message has tremendous impact. Doing a town hall is tremendous impact, and so forth. Today, our values on Haspi are three. Building with excellence and heart. So these are the three things that we relate to so much as a company. And the way we think about this whole exercise is to excel about building the perfect product, and the perfect product should be measured by data in general, but there's always an art element of building, which is the heart, how you storytell, how you communicate it to the end user, and so forth, that you cannot quantify it. This is just a feeling that you have. And I'll give you a small example. Spotify, which is one of the, in my opinion, best products ever been built, you don't even need to quantify it to know that the product's beautiful. You just can open it up, and the Airbnb is the same, and so forth. So we feel that a mixture of excellence and data and so forth, and heart and emotions is the right balance. And we make sure that every person who comes to Haspi is obsessed about quant, but also has a big heart and puts themselves out there just to come with empathy, either on their colleagues or with people.
Fantastic. So we briefly mentioned that you started from Dubai, and now you started operations in Spain, in Madrid, here. You don't call exactly Madrid like a neighboring country to Dubai. So I would like to discuss briefly about the challenges of keeping both teams in sync, how you align them in terms of targets, operating targets, and most importantly, again, about culture. I have been to the Madrid office, again, fantastic vibe, fantastic energy. So how did you do it?
Yeah, first of all, we just opened in Madrid roughly a few months ago. So Madrid is our first city out of an expansion to Europe. Europe is still untapped in what we do, so the real estate market is completely undisrupted. So we see a massive opportunity to go and build a very large business in general. How we keep up the culture and the comms in general.
Between the two
offices, yes. Yeah. So first of all, the challenges are huge. So the Dubai office is English dominated, here it's Spanish dominated. So you have a language barrier in general. The UAE is already a much bigger business. So roughly we have $3 billion that are floating throughout our platforms in the past 2 years and a half. Spain is a much smaller business in general, so you need much more scrappiness, speed, innovation, and so forth. Where in the UAE we focus a bit more on margins and sustainability and etc. So just different stages of building the business. But in general, we have a setup that we changed before we launched to Madrid that helped us so much in centralizing the direction of Huspi. So in Huspi, we're set up around the tribe structure that mainly we have one tribe to each our personas. So the customer or the end users are one tribe. We have the banks as another tribe, the real estate agents are another tribe. And at the top of each tribe, we have one person from Dubai and one person for Spain that build international products, so products for both markets. And then underneath each tribe, you have chapters who localize features inside these markets. So we make sure that we're creating a universal product that's adaptable globally, meaning Dubai, Spain, but also further than Spain when we go and expand, but also make sure that we have local elements that cater for local solutions and etc. So this is one thing on the way you run the business day to day. The second thing on the culture, and so for our culture is the same. Even if you go into the meeting rooms that we have, they're the same meeting room. We have an open big room, open space in every office that we have, which we call it the Garden by Huspi, which is a massive room where we do our town halls, where people can spend time collaborating and etc. The layout in Dubai is the same exact thing as the layout in Spain. And also make sure that the onboarding process more or less the same thing. The challenge that we still have is the communication, which is the language barrier, unfortunately, and this I think will be a long-lasting challenge that we have to.
I'm sure you're gonna figure it out. It's okay. So, another question that I'm sure a lot of people, especially attending this conference, they're gonna have in mind. Like, let's discuss a little bit about how were the discussions talking with pre-seed, seed investors, and then all the way to the Series A led by Sequoia, like how these discussions changed, what the requirements, and what, how did you experience it as a founder?
Yeah, just for you guys to know about the history of fundraising in Huspi, so we raised a seed round 2 years ago roughly, and we topped it up. So we ended up with, can't remember the exact amount, but roughly around $10 million in total, where you guys put the majority of the capital in. And then we raised after Series A, and we topped it up also around 55 million in total, where Sequoia led the Series A and also the top up. So this was the history of fundraising. And initially, when you fundraise at seed, you have nothing. Long story short, you have a dream, a story. Even the story is not perfect. You're doing it for the first time, so you're still going back and forth, pivoting, iterating, etc. I used to be a venture capitalist before, so I understand a bit what a VC likes, so a big market, lean structure, a very good team that's complementary and so forth. We had all of this from the beginning. The challenge that we had is our space, which was real estate and mortgage, was a difficult space to understand for a lot of people. So it took a lot of back and forth for us to get there. But then when we were in the fundraising process, our metrics were really flying. So the story started shaping up more and more. When we went into Series A, and it was a large Series A in general, the story still mattered so much, but the Excel sheet mattered as much. So you can tell whatever you want as story, but if you don't have the metrics, then it gets a bit more difficult for you to go and sustain that. And basically our Series A, the challenges that we had is we had unbelievable growth. So our numbers were really good. We had incredible unit economics also. Spain was just starting, so still a question mark if you can crack it in Spain or not. But also we were dealing with like a caliber of investors. I was so intimidated, George, when I spoke with Sequoia initially. I don't know if I told this story or not, that have seen everything in life, right? So there's nothing that you can say to impress, right? So you can tell them 30% month on month, and for them, it's like whatever you say, it's a great story to shape up, but you feel that the other party is very seasoned, very calm, very composed, understand or looks at a business in a different way. At the end of the day, the way I think about software companies, technology company, your product is a software, but at the end of the day, it's a business. It's similar to like a burger shop down the street. They sell burgers, you sell a software. The only advantage that you have against them is you have reach. If you want to cater for millions of people, you don't have to go and open 10,000 stores. You can just do it out of an application layer, website, and so forth. But the fundamentals are the same. Like you have the quality of the product should be high, the quality of the burger should be high. You have to have enough margins for you to go and build a sustainable business long term. If you want to go and build a large business, you need enough people using your product or eating your food and so forth. So I don't see a lot of the similarities between an offline business and an online business. It's just the only advantage that it can scale much further than an offline business.
Fair. So talking about you now, so let's discuss a little bit about how you changed you personally from the seed all the way to the Series A. And looking back to Jad 3 years ago, what have you done differently? How you have improved yourself?
Oof, man, I was a mess, man, 2 years ago.
You were not.
Listen, you learn so much, and I remember there's a few people who came into Huspi that pushed us a lot. So I'm very young by nature, so I'm 29 now. When we started Huspi, we were like 26, 27 years old. Super excited, energetic. We need to open 17 business and 40 markets tomorrow. Cool. So it's a lot of energy it's coming up, which is great. I think initially passion takes you a long way, but there's certain point in time where I have to put systems in place. I think if you put systems too early, it slows you down, so you should not put systems. And even if you put systems, you don't know what you're automating, so because things are moving still and probably you don't have solid product market fit, so it should come after a certain period of time. But even my style of operating became different. So initially, even if you're a CEO of a company, in reality you're not. You're involved in every decision making, product, marketing, and sales, and so forth. If I want to be involved now in every decision making, we can never scale. So we have a very decentralized decision making process and in general. I'm highly involved in product and growth and people. These are three things that I do, but I don't call the shots. Someone else call the shots, or else you can never open 10 markets in 3-4 years. So you have to build high trust, high accountability system, where initially it was a very centralized system in general. But also we have an executive team, George, that is very seasoned, so you know all of them. So all of them have massive roles. So we're super lucky with that.
This is a very, very valid point, because unfortunately we have seen it through investing all these years that a lot of super capable and super smart people, they just fail to give up some responsibilities to other team members. So the company pretty much doesn't grow as much as they should. So last question, being mindful of the time. So what excites you more about Huspi in the coming, let's say, months, years? And what worries you also the most?
And what?
Worries you the most?
What worries me the most? What excites me the most? I'm so excited about winning Europe. I think this is the big milestone that we have to crack in Huspi. Just for you guys to understand a bit what we do is we're decentralizing the real estate space. So I'll give you guys a small example just for you to understand a bit more. And I'll start with an application that we all know, which is Uber. Uber has one of the best product market fits ever created, in my opinion. Great for the customer, it's seamless end-to-end, cheaper in some cities. For the driver, it's even better because they make more money and there's zero barriers to entry. And even for the regulator, it's amazing because they get transparency to the whole market. But if you think about it just in general, what Uber made as a bet, they made a bet that taxi owners and medallion companies do not add value in the supply chain, and these guys should get disrupted, and they pass the economics to the person who really matters, which is the driver. And that's as simple as this. We're making a similar bet in our industry, so we're putting the power in terms of the agent rather than the agency. Anyone can become an agent in Huspi. A tier 1 agent can become an agent with Huspi. A part-time student can become an agent with Huspi, and so forth, where we teach them the fundamentals of building. So you get an app, and under the app you get everything that you need to become an agent. So education elements, WordCast CRM, photography, legal, and so forth. And then in parallel, we're building a consumer super app where the eventual goal is to build the real estate, the mortgage, and renovation, and deeper, and then both of them will be interconnected between both. So super excited to see this application all over
Fantastic.
Europe and in general. What scares me most, and
Nothing.
no, there's a lot of things that scare me. I don't know if we have time, but scaling culture at this speed is exceptionally difficult. I can't emphasize that enough. And culture is something that you feel just immediately, right? If you go into an office and one of the values of a company is, I don't know, respect each other, and then someone shouted at someone else and the company doesn't do anything, meaning it's very clear that there's no respect in this company, right? Meaning scaling these across 10 markets and different languages is something that scares me so much. And this is why I'm super close to people, but that's it, this is the biggest challenge that we have today.
Fantastic. I think we ran out of time. Jad, it was an honor sharing the stage with you.
Thanks,
Looking
thank you.
forward to the next steps of Haspi.
Amazing, thanks.
Okay. Bye, buddy.